The second film that Fox did that was the super nouveau format is this movie. It's After the Rope. They did
Cinemascope.
Cinemascope.
So this is their second production in Cinemascope.
Yeah.
But they got Marilyn Monroe, Lauren Bacall, and Betty Grable.
Yeah, and the interesting thing I was reading some of the wiki is that in the actual movie, Betty Grable gets the higher notice, but in all the promotional materials, it was Marilyn Monroe. Because the year before she did like Gentlemen's Prefer Blondes.
Yeah.
And it was like a bombshell. Well, she was already.
Right.
Yeah.
And is in that movie the song "Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend"?
Yes.
Because they actually said it in this movie, pointing to her
Yes.
in a diamond-studded outfit.
Yes.
And it's like, that can't be coincidence.
It wasn't.
It was full of really cool stuff. When the Lauren Bacall character, which is Schatze, is asked, well, what about,
older guys,
and she said, yeah, and that guy from the
African Queen,
he's a stud. And going, right. Humphrey Bogart.
Yes, yep. And I looked it up because I wanted to know. Lauren Bacall actually came into acting really young, and here she's only 29 years old, but she has that very mature look,
I did the calc, so like 27, 26.
Yeah. Okay, so she was 26, and then Marilyn Monroe is like 29 and a little older.
She's 2 years older. Yeah.
But Betty Grable is quite a bit older.
Yes, Betty Grable is about 10 years older than the other two women, which is why Betty Grable, who is also the highest grossing actress of the 1940s, that she was first billed and should have been first everything, but you can't be Marilyn Monroe just entering this happens quite often.
Yeah, but if you've seen the movie, which we did see the movie, is that of the three, Betty Grable is not the most interesting one.
She's really not. And I was looking at, I didn't actually look at her whole listing, but I was like, what have I seen her in? Because I have seen Lauren Bacall and I've seen Marilyn Monroe.
What have you seen her in?
I don't know. I didn't. Yeah, I mean, if we pause this and maybe you can have a little list and go.
I'll put something up for Betty Grable.
But the thing is, for us and 1940s film stars, we may not have noticed that it was her. It was all black and white. She would have looked different.
And she's, in a way, not very pronounced.
Yeah.
For all the fame that she had.
Not as clear. Clearly, and certainly for the 1940s, that was the way of things. If you weren't Katharine Hepburn, then you would have been, whatever they made you with. Yeah,
and with that makeup. Overly blonde hair, which I don't think is natural.
Yes. And also, I found a lot of pancake on their face, all of them. And it's not necessary. I mean, it may be necessary for the film format, because they all say for film you need like full stage makeup. For HD, like digital television or digital film, you don't. And that's a massive difference. And that didn't happen until the year 2000.
But another difference is that in 1950s people didn't have as wonderful faces as they have now.
So they really wanted to gloss it all over and have even more pancake. And they probably wanted her to look the same age as the other two leads. Yeah. And she's not, but I don't mind it. It doesn't matter for the story at all. It's also not in your face that there's an age difference, although you know that Lauren Bacall is young.
Yeah, but she is the one who actually feels like she's the most mature of the bunch.
Yeah. There's two plays that this is based on. And one of the plays is called Loco. And so they meshed two plays together. Probably the two girls who wanted that apartment and started doing this. And the other, the story of Loco, which is Betty Grable. And you can tell in the movie that it actually veers. She goes off with this whole main adventure, and comes back at the end again. She goes off sooner than our Polo character, our Marilyn Monroe character.
Yeah,
Paula,
I think the original play, because there is indeed two plays, and one is from 1946, but one is from 1930, and the one with the Schatze and Polo storyline is the one from 1930, and that is now you understand why they're having a money problem, because in 1930,
Great Depression,
every girl had a money problem,
and they probably didn't know that it was going to take another 10 years before that was. I mean, the depression just grew worse and worse and worse.
But when I was when I saw this film like many years ago, I was sort of going, "This is a really weird story for the 1950s, which is about wholesomeness and about getting married and stuff." It is about getting married, but the way she starts by she swindles the landowner, the house owner out of a house for a while, and then the place she rents the place under false pretenses, and then but it's fully furnished, and then she starts selling off the furniture.
That
not once,
the previous
but
occupant.
Twice. Yes.
And also, I really suspect that first check she gave last month, so that's $2,000.
It was not covered.
$2,1953. I think that would not have been a covered check. It would be bouncing.
So, but that's for.
So I was surprised that after 6 months they were actually still living there. I think that really, if you had updated it more for the 1950s, the whole thing would have happened in the first 2 months and not 6 months of living there, and then the story starts getting on.
I don't think.
I think that didn't work for the.
I don't think you could
time.
You could do this in the 1950s anymore. I don't think it would work. But in the 1930s, but 1930s were a really weird time. So,
and she was innovative. She was thinking completely out of the box. And what I love the scene where Paula comes in and she says, "I'm going to phone up my friend Loco." And is she the right type? Is she the right class or whatever they were using? Is she creamy? The word creamy was like, that's the buzzword at the time. I'd never heard that before. So, and then she's like, let's see what she can do with a quarter. And she was creamy. I just loved that. That kind of made the movie just.
But I think that's all the 1930s script. They used these two plays and took the best parts of these plays and made it a fun movie. And I think that is we've seen this a lot now. That then when the moment they take a play that has been moderately successful and been on the stage and polished it a little bit, and then take it to the screen. It is a wonderful movie.
All the good stuff from the 30s and the 40s, you look at, and a bunch of them.
It's a play.
It's a play. Yeah.
And
Philadelphia story, similar.
And I think it's somebody like Bacall who is very good at doing these sort of things. She is a wonderful actress, as in the actual work of being an actress, of doing lines, of being convincing, of putting a plot out there. She does that very well.
And she comes in as a powerhouse as well. The moment the landlord, he closes the door when he lets her into the place, and she just turns around and is like, "No, you are not closing this door. I am a lady by myself." And so she's not demure. She's not going, "Oh my goodness, you've just closed the door." No, it's that you will not do that. And he's like, "Oh, all right." She opens the door again. But she was proper. She was a good hustler. Very, very good.
Yeah. And I think this movie is trying to, in the 1953, they're trying to portray a modern woman with a 1930 plot, which sort of makes them uncomfortable.
But also with a 1930s attitude.
Yeah, but it makes them
the three women are strong in their own ways.
But it makes them uncomfortable, so they try to get it back to this
now
getting
we need
married
to
bitch.
Mold it back to they have to get the wholesome guy and the nice guy, and they shouldn't get the multi-millionaire. Well, in the end, some of them do. Some of them do.
Yeah,
but I think especially Loco ending up with the ranger, that was appropriate, because she was not quite up to the resisting. Okay, sorry. I thought for the longest time that she was pursuing this married guy.
She was.
But no, when she gets to the lodge, she's like, wait, I thought you talked to Masonry Lodge, where there were people on hoity-toity, and I should be able to meet other men that are eligible. So her plan was indeed not to get this guy.
Yeah, but because he was married, so
because he was married. So I was like, why is he? And even Schatze asks her, why are you still with this married guy? That is a no-win scenario. It's a road that goes nowhere. And she said, I have a plan. So she did have a plan, but the film presents it kind of like she's pursuing the married guy. And the married guy keeps thinking that.
Yeah, and I think...
And it's like, by the time they get off the bridge there, and all the paparazzi come across them, and she's like, hello. I'm like, okay,
notoriety.
Because she will actually blackmail him about it. It's like, yes, you're doing this to your wife. Excuse me.
No, it's not. If the paparazzi is there, there's no blackmailing because everybody knows now.
Yeah. So he's screwed, and he's gonna have to go home to his wife and go, yeah, I lied to you all this time, and I was there up there with a girl, and nothing happened because we both got measles. But okay. Yeah.
The 1930s plot in a 1953 movie, even as much as it stars Lauren Bacall and Marilyn Monroe, it is so very much about don't judge a book by its cover. Basically, that is the premise of the plots. But
that can be a good thing. So,
or specifically, don't judge a man by his cover, because
don't judge his man by his wallet, and that is. I think that's a wholesome message because, yes, you need to take care of yourself, but do you need a millionaire? Is diamonds everything? Are diamonds a girl's best friend? No. Is you need a decent guy that you can have a lovely life with if the only choice is getting married or become a secretary. Or a hostess.
No, it's
wasn't
worse.
Even yet. You couldn't become a secretary
you
yet.
can only get married.
Yes.
That's it.
In the 60s, you could become an air hostess. You could become a secretary.
It's literally 1953. The only thing these girls can do is get married.
Which man gets you? Well, the most wealthy one, and I don't blame them that they want that. And I also... think they went about it the right way. The original idea that Schatze had is we need to meet them, therefore we need to be in places where they are.
Where the light grows, be in the right places.
And that goes through all the way through to the end of the 1960s is women would enroll in university degrees like medicine because they wanted to meet a doctor, law because they wanted to meet a lawyer, And they would... So you can judge it or not, but given the choices that they had, they might as well. If there's a nice lawyer out there, I'll have him.
And Schatze has a sort of the idea: if I'm going to shoot, I might as well shoot high.
She and that I think she's so kick ass, because she was also the last one to give in and say, okay, I'll take the pump. I like pump guys.
But I actually,
he's a nice pump guy.
The storyline of Schatze and the wealthy gentleman,
so good,
Mr.
JD Henley.
JD Henley, the wealthy guy, played by a very good actor, by the way. He's from he was more famous in the 30s and stuff like that, but he's such a beautiful gentleman here, and I like that neither Schatze nor him pushed at the wrong moment. Yes, he came back because he realized I do want her, because he sent her away first because she's too young, and he's right. She's young,
and then he came back and said,
and he did the right thing, and then he did the right thing again.
Yes,
by letting her go.
And there's this one in the wedding scene. Before the wedding scene, there's this guy that comes up to him and, "Are you still sure about this?" I thought that was done very well, because we don't get to see everybody's entourage. Nobody has friends apart from the three women. Nobody has like an extended social circle. But this guy comes up to him, same age, and he says, "Are you still sure about this?" And he said, yeah, I'm going to go through with it. But it does show that even amongst the men, this is a discussion. Are you really going to marry this 25-year-old young woman, 30 years younger than you? She will want to have babies.
She's younger than your daughter.
And he says, yes, but you kind of know that. He knows it just has to be that pushback from her and he's out of there. And I love the scene where she says, "Oh, I'm feeling faint," but she wasn't, or my ankle.
It's cold feet.
Literally cold feet. And you know, leans on his arm and he takes her out. I was like, oh, that is beautiful. This man has earned all the points that he could possibly earn.
And then he goes gets the pump guy for him.
Yeah, he organizes the pump guy. And the pump guy's like, yeah, she's a gold digger, and you know, but does she actually know how much you're worth? No, and I don't want her to. And I thought that's actually great. I don't want her to know until she's married him, because he will need to know. He's a gazillion millionaire. He was
he was loaded,
a quarter billionaire. He was, and she shouldn't know until they're married that she actually did marry money, because then he'll forever ask himself did she only? And that's probably why he wasn't married yet at that time, because he was easily in his 30s. He wasn't old, but he was in his 30s, and he could have been married 10 times older. Over.
Yeah.
Did you notice that Schatze immediately says, "I was married, and I'm
yeah,
now."
She calls Mrs. Page,
Mrs.
and not yeah.
So that's very 1930s, 40s. All those
50s,
movies about the divorcee woman, and then she has a banter relationship with the guy that she was married to originally, and then marries him again.
But not this one. Because
this guy is out of the picture.
Because the play is from a pre-code. It's a play and not a film, but it was 1930 is pre-code. So the entire setup has a pre-code feel in that sense. In the sense of money grubbing and being divorced and not being apologetic about it, and all these things are very pre-code. And then they have to in 1953 they can actually apparently still put it down there. And
so in 1953 she could actually be divorced from somebody else and then have a look at new guys and then marry another one. And that in the 1930s and 40s you will find all these movies, it's the same guy. And it's always, of course, James Stewart and Cary Grant and stuff. And, of course, you want to marry them again. But the whole idea was, because of the code, you couldn't have an off-and-on relationship. They would get married. They would have, and the carnal knowledge of each other, that was one of the problems. So, well, then we'll just make them divorced first, and we'll have them have this adventure, and then they will marry again. And what I think the unintentional effect of that to an American society has been that it became acceptable for cool women, because all these women were just super cool. Banter and activity, and they got the cool guy, but they also had super cool lives. And so, yeah, she on the screen, she got divorced. I can get divorced.
Bacall,
if Katharine Hepburn can get divorced, I can get divorced, and I think that made a major difference.
More sure in one of, because she was always a darling. She got divorced in the Women.
The whole thing was about divorcing your
guy, but she's like the wholesome girl who got divorced from her guy.
Yeah. So I think if they hadn't had the code, they wouldn't have had such a revolution in women's social lives that it was okay to divorce, because before 1930 it was not okay to divorce.
Yeah. And here in the 1950s...
A respectable woman does not get divorced, no matter how bad it is.
Yeah, and in the 1950s, even though they're trying to gear towards a happy home life, you still want to have a plot. So a lot of the plots are about getting married, married. And from this point onwards, like a couple of years from now, it starts about girls working. But not here yet.
No, and then that's the Doris Day era.
The only job they have here is something that they're fashion models, which is a sort of...
and that is just temporary. It is extremely clear. I loved the fashion model scene for Pump Guy. I thought that was a fantastic way to put... They actually had a little bit at the end where they had all the other fashion models that also had to be shown. That wasn't Marilyn and Lauren Bacall and Betty. So they had to get the other ones in there as well.
I think they had like seven looks.
But it was part of the plot. It wasn't we stop everything, we open a curtain. There was curtains that opened. But we open a curtain and then we do that. And I loved it because we get to see the actual height of fashion. When he says, "Can I see the pink and blue girl again?" The pink and blue job, I think he even says. No, yeah, but he says something derogatory.
He does say that.
I'd like to
but
see
he meant the
pink
gown. He didn't mean the girl inside.
No, he didn't mean the girl, and she's just like fuming. So good. Yeah.
Interesting thing about for fashion history for that particular scene is that is, and you see it in the women as well. There's from 1939. There's another similar scene of a fashion show of how they used to do fashion, because he comes in as a rich guy. That's why Lauren Bacall character comes to her boss afterwards and saying, "Hey, you're being jostled by this guy because I think he's not rich." And this guy and the boss says, "Hey, don't
my business.
Don't teach me my business." And because he knows that this is a rich client, and yet you have these private showings so that he can basically it is so he can go to his. He should have brought his wife, and then they can pick out a trousseau.
It was the young auntie. There was a phone call that explained all that. He had a young auntie. She's only 25, and he needs to get her some outfits.
Yeah, so to have a show for that for just one guy, is perfectly normal in those days. But this is high fashion. This is the type of stuff that now is like Coco Chanel, Chanel or Lagerfeld or stuff like that. You go to Paris and you have a private show like that. They don't do that anymore. Now they have like the runway thing. But this is the precursor of the runway thing. Yep. So from this private stuff, which was like for a very private audience, and as more people got money, more people want to take part in these things and want to see them, and then you get bigger and bigger shows. But this is the start of it, and this one and the women's, the one from the women's, for fashion history, very interesting. The dresses. Oh, when they go out. That beautiful purple, plum purple dress that Marilyn is wearing. And they have that one look where she stops in front of a multitude of mirrors and you can see it from almost all sides. Oh.
It's so fantastically done. The director, we have a name for the director. Jean Negulesco.
That's Jean.
I'm going to go with a dude. But he knew what he was doing, and he was like, "We got Marilyn," but also Lauren. She also stood in front of those mirrors. Oh God, yes. Looks, turns, checks out that she's okay, and then, but the style, the Lauren Bacall is like statuesque. She is forever perfect.
Yes.
And then
she could wear a potato sack and it would look perfect.
And that's what I like.
Just the right belt and a bit of hair and she's perfect.
Perfect. She would make it work. I think all the three leads were so different. And it makes a beautiful ensemble cast, which you don't see very often, especially women ensemble cast. And you see them and you go, they all have their flavor. They all have their space in it. And nothing is in each other's face. And it's not about one-upmanship at all. Marilyn has this the glasses thing.
Yeah. That also she has Lauren Bacall has this sharpness and this smartness and sophistication.
Yes.
And then Marilyn has this soft, unfocused look. And
she's always willing to play. She is like, the guy comes in, Freddy comes in with his sunglasses and the whole thing, and she's like, "Oh, are you leaving already?" And she just assumes he is there for one of the other women. I mean, one. And no, she's not here right now. I'm so sorry. Will you be back later? And it's just lovely. And so I was already thinking by that time that's gonna be. There's gonna be something that happens later.
That would be nice.
Yes, of course, Betty Grable. I haven't really seen her in much that I know of. I think I probably have. But her storyline, which takes her off the group fairly quickly, is also that makes her shine.
Yes,
because she is then the only woman. She's got two guys, one grumpy, and really, can somebody flush that guy down the toilet? Yeah, I really feel for his wife. But then,
she probably encouraged him to go to conventions and stuff.
And did you notice that in all the three first attempts to have guys, they're all too old for them?
Yes,
because they are millionaires. They are established.
Exactly. You can't. A young guy is not going to have the money that they want to have.
And Schatze, pretty much, she signed up for it. She knew beforehand that is the deal. If I want money, then I want a guy that is established. He will have he may be a widower, and he will have children.
And I think if in a real sense, if Schatze had gone for her Henley guy, the gentleman, in a real situation where you sort of go into it in a kind of an arranged marriage kind of deal, so we're not doing true love, but we're doing let's have a good life together.
Convenience.
Then you can probably make it work if both people are serious about it.
I think so. I think it was viable because this was what she was looking for. Mm. She pursued him.
And he knew that.
Right.
He did know that.
That's all right. And a 30-year age gap, I do agree that that's a lot. But there is no reason to say that that's the reason to not do it. Especially if there is love. And I think she was extremely willing. But she did recognize that, I'm sorry, I cannot marry you because you'd be marrying somebody who doesn't love you in the way you should. And that is also, on her side, is a very good choice. Because she had no expectation of Pump Guy at all. She wasn't intending to marry Pump Guy instead of this guy.
Yeah.
That was not the reason why she begged out of
I think she did it for him. To give him, because she felt that he could have somebody who was more real than she was.
Yeah.
And
she's a good woman. He's a good guy.
And hopefully we'll get his chance because he is looking and he'll get his chance.
He might get a chance with somebody who's a widow and who has lived some more life as him, and then they can parallel.
And who knows now, because I think they're probably going to stay friends with her new guy who has a lot of money. She can go anywhere, and she now knows this guy needs a nice girl, and she can send people in the right direction.
One of the reasons that I think that he wasn't the original JD wasn't right for her is that when they were sitting down and he explained, then I became a widower, and then I had all this, and the kids are all out of the house. I went to Europe, and she goes, Europe, and then he said, but that was nothing, and then they went to a trip around the world for 6 months. I'd love that. That's nothing. He's already done the things that she wants to do. She's so young. And I agree with him. That is not a good match. Unless he wants to take her to see those things.
That's an option.
And that's also, that will give his life flavor because she's now there to enjoy. He has a lovely woman to enjoy with, because he went by himself. That was what, he was married for 35 years.
He probably went with his wife the first round.
Yeah, but he said after he became a widower. And he tried all these things, but he was
doing it alone.
No, he didn't want it. No. So he is looking for somebody, but I think he has now realized in the 5 years that has passed between the bereavement that he actually should be looking for someone. And she just came on his path, and it was for him. It was also a positive experience, even though this one didn't turn out. And that happens in life. There is just a moment where it's not a match. And it's okay. And
I think they probably can be friends afterwards. I think these people can be friends afterwards. The entire group of people.
I love that for the end that they were all at that bar.
Having really horse burgers.
The grubby horse burger bar. And they were just, all three couples were there, and you're going, now that is life. That is you found family. None of them have actual family. It's not in the story, so they'll probably have some, but they don't care about them. And these are the people that they want to spend the next 20 years with. Yeah. And they're gonna have babies at the same time, and they're gonna have go through various stages of life at the same time. And the dudes were in more of their age. The only one that I think is a little older, maybe 40, is Paula's guy, Freddy.
I think Schatze actually says that he's pretty young. So I think he's just a little bit older looker because 1950s people looked a little low. So I think he's still 30 or under. Yeah. But what I like about the men, because I did like something about the men, is that they're very, very different. Even the gentleman gentleman businessman and then the annoying businessmen are so different, even though they're sort of the similar demographic, they're so different that you do not mix them up. And I like that. They're sort of color-coded, but not quite color-coded, if you know what I mean.
They did that quite well to give everybody, okay, the movie is so white. There's at the beginning, there is the overture. I don't think you need a 6-minute overture for a film that is 1 hour and 35 minutes.
I think that's
just me.
I think the 6-minute overture. I was thinking about that. Why is that? I think that is two reasons that I can think of. One is it for people to sit down while they're coming in, and that's the practical. But I think the actual is that Marilyn Monroe definitely, and I don't know about Betty Grable, is always been a musical. Somebody who has always had musical stuff around it. So possibly when they cast this, they were planning to put in some music, so they had some music written. But then it turns out that Lauren Bacall is there, and I don't think Lauren Bacall definitely doesn't sing, and I don't think Betty Grable sings. So there goes your music. But then you have all the music, and you still want to put it out there. And at the time in 1953, the big bands were the ones that were having the stuff on hit parades. Like you would play big band music. What is this? 6 minutes of the medley in big band. Yep. So that's why I think it is there. But it's very tedious when you're watching it.
It's extremely tedious, but I was actually quite happy to sit through it.
Because
I was doing the, can I find any BIPOC people anywhere? Because at the back row, there were, of course, back row. There were some people that I thought maybe weren't entirely white, and I wasn't quite sure about the...
mostly Latino, probably.
Could be. And I wasn't quite sure about the conductor.
I know that there were a lot of Latinos in the music business in Hollywood.
So I was trying to spot and hope, but I was watching it on my 24-inch, and then it's only a strip like this, so there's so many people on the screen at the same time. It's difficult. So no, I think the movie is so white. Of course, it's 1953. They didn't really feel like putting anybody else in.
And the interesting thing is that if this film was made in 1937, there would have been black servants, like the house servants of the whatever would have been black, and the doorman would have been black.
Yeah.
That doorman, I have a beef with the doorman. The doorman that lets a stranger into a house where girls live.
Yeah.
Even though he's officially the house owner.
He's not a stranger. He is the previous
tenant. He doesn't belong there. No. What is that?
No.
This guy needs to be fired. I'm sorry. No.
Yeah,
don't do that.
Danger.
So,
not good. Not good. And then the most vulnerable of the three each time is actually at home. And that is Paula. Because
who can't see a damn thing.
Yeah. So she could have been, it could have been bad.
That could have been very, very unfortunate.
Speaking of Paula and Freddy, one of the scenes that I loved most in the film was when they're in the airplane.
Yeah, that was a good scene.
Because they slowly make their way through not her realizing, but opening up a world to her where she doesn't have to hide her glasses, and there's no contact lenses, looks like, because she can't see.
It's about 5 years.
And so she's significantly handicapped because all of the world around her tells her, if you wear glasses, you will not get a man. The rest of what the world tells her, if you do not get a man, you do not have a life. So she's seriously screwed, no matter how pretty she is. And I loved that the guy next to her, so Freddy was played by David Wayne. Kudos to him, actually sitting there straight-faced going, I actually think you're very, very lovely looking girl, and I think glasses would be okay on you. And then she puts the glasses on and says, I think you're actually looking better now. And I actually thought that the glasses, I mean, it's not my style of glasses. It was very stylish of the day. And if you're gonna go for that kind of glasses, then, Marilyn Monroe can rock it.
Marilyn also can rock like anything.
He sat there straight-faced and he just kept complimenting her, but in a very, matter-of-fact way that she's probably never heard her entire life. No, and that's Marilyn Monroe. I mean, the character isn't, but Paula looks like Marilyn Monroe. So if a woman like that has that much of a self-esteem issue, that she just the only way that she can deal with life is I go outside, I see nothing, because she must have had like she's nearsighted to the point where she can only see this much in front of her face. That is an extreme handicap. So I loved him in that. I loved the scene. I loved her realizing the whole thing, how that worked out. This, I think, my favorite scene in the
and kudos to Marilyn herself for just walking straight into a wall, because
she's great.
Because when she takes off the glasses and then tries to walk to the door and just walk straight into a wall, and just doing it a plump like that is yes.
Yeah.
I did notice, because now in the wonderful quality that you can see that in the glasses that she has, there is some distortion, as you can see in my glasses when you see. I don't know if you can
forget it. No.
Can you?
No, forget it. No.
It distorts a little bit. You can see that my glasses, and I have like -8, and that means I'm not as bad as her. But I will walk into a glass door. And I think she probably has less. The character has less than that, but the glasses that she was wearing was not as bad as that. I think that may have been actually be her own glasses. It looked like a regular set of glasses, because when they have a character whose actor doesn't have glasses, but the character has glasses, they put in just ordinary glass, no distortion glass, and you can see straight away. When the moment you see distortion, that's real glasses.
I also felt that she actually acted like a person who understands needing glasses. And we've discussed it on the channel before, and we can see it when the actors, and then it's like they go and they want to think about something, so they take their glasses off. Now I cannot see my face on this camera setup, so that doesn't work for me. It's like, what? Nobody does that. Why would you take your glasses off when you want to think about something? When you see less, so that's actually more disturbing in your brain. No, it is not calming to take your glasses off. It's the opposite. It may be calming for the viewers. But so I thought she actually showed a proper glasses wearing person.
Yeah.
And then when she wanted to, but she was felt so hard for her, because she had a guy walks in, and then Laura and Bacall, Schatze turns around, and they have their backs to her, and then she goes, oh, and I was like, but she immediately puts, the other way around. So she puts them on sleuthily. I need to see, and takes them back off again.
And it puts it behind her back.
She holds it behind her back the whole time, because there's no pockets to put it in. Yeah, so I think glasses-wise, Marilyn Monroe did one of the best glasses performance that I have ever seen on film.
Yeah, and in this movie, there's really not much to it in actual depth, but the way it's done is charmingly and with a lot of detail. There's one moment when Schatze first comes to the apartment, and she's looking around and she's talking to the girls, and he looks over at this faux Greek statue, and she looks down at where
it was naked,
where it would have been naked, but it's off screen, and she sort of goes.
It's where the leg kind of like what's behind the leg.
I'll put a picture in if I have it, but she sort of sees, but.
And she looks down and she goes back about her business.
she quirks her eyebrow just a little bit.
Having lived in England for 3 years, I can tell you that people actually do this still. And they will I have not seen that.
I like the detail. It's just she's just talking to the girls, and her conversation just continues, and just look and going on.
Yeah.
And it's... I love it, because
it's so good.
To her, this environment is also pretty new, because I don't think she's used to that. This opulence. They are putting on this opulence. They're wearing it like a cloak, but it's not their cloak.
But she put thought in it. She has prepared for this. Now I'm gonna just throw something out that completely is out of left field. I read this book, and it's called The Marchioness of Unfortunately, I never remember names.
I'll put it up.
And it is maybe written in around 1900. I love the Gutenberg project, so I read loads of books that like old stuff nobody remembers. And this was about a woman who was in, let's call it the 1880s, maybe even the 1850s. And she was from a good home. So let's call it at least middle class. And Britain, I think. And she had no family left, and there was no money left. So now what do? Do you step one class lower and go into service?
Not ideal.
No, she was not going to do that. So what she did, with the very few brains that she had, because she didn't have much more brains than maybe Loco did. She had some, but not as much as Schatze. Yeah. She had no education. What she had, she was a companion lady. That was all she was. So first, 5 years of the book, she's the companion lady. Then the old lady that she was companion for, she's literally sitting in a room with a woman dying, and she reads books, and she, companion lady. That was a job. But then she gets a part of the inheritance. She takes that, and she buys new gloves. All this time she has been mending her gloves so that she can go outdoors and look. No, I mean, literally, this book is very fascinating. And it goes on and on and on. It talks about, but only from this, right? I don't know this, but I can now read.
It's because you're not an 1850 lady.
Hey, my mistake. And it's like, if you wish to be part of society, you have to have your gloves and they have to look perfect.
Yeah.
So the moment they don't look for perfect, every night she is trying to make the most of her gloves, and then there's only one coat and all of that. And what's under the coat she doesn't show because she can't. There's a point where you can't. So I'll cut it shorter, but this goes on and on and on. Eventually, she is kind of like governessing, but not quite down to governess, because that's actually no longer middle class.
Yeah, that's surface. Yeah.
Right. So she's like one up from governess, and she reads. She reads and reads and reads. She doesn't understand what she reads, but she can repeat it. So she's in this ball or something because of her status and all the connections that she keeps on keeping on. She's there, and this marshal of the bloody blah turns around and says, "This woman said something interesting. I understand it." She only was quoting because that's the book she was reading. She didn't know what it was about, but she was quoting the book. She knew that worked.
Quoted the right thing to the right person.
And the guy said, "I'll marry you." And now she becomes a Marchioness. And now she is high-end class. And this is what I think Schatze understands.
Yes.
Is you have to be
Put it on, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is a very back to the movie. This is a very 1950s movie, even though it's accidentally trying to do something progressive with the 1930s plot, which was in a way a little bit more progressive, but also you're still trying to get married.
I think that for 1930 sensibility, as in a Great Depression, and your number one issue in life is how am I going to
eat tonight?
Live? Yeah. So then you're actually back at things like Grapes of Wrath. It's not about getting the right husband and this and that. It's literally about putting food on the table for the next day. Now, Schatze took the long term, and she also prepared, which is why I was talking about the Marchioness. She prepared. Every turn she takes, everything that she does. And then to step off of that, of course, Pump Guy, he's never going to let her starve. We know that. If nothing else, he's always going to be pumping gas. And there's money to be made in oil. They wanted oil. That was their focus. Oil, money.
Schatze's worry is that even if she gets a pump guy, and even if she gets a rich guy, he can still leave her, which is what happened to her first guy. He took her for all the money she had and then left her.
Yeah, because it was pump guy.
But then she also left her. If he had stayed, she would still be married to him.
Yeah, and if he hadn't taken her money. So she has reasons to be very meticulous.
And even if she gets a really rich guy, this risk is still there. This is not going to go away.
I would say, especially not with JD, because he's a real sweetheart, and he is actually
JD is actually the safer bet over even the rich pump guy. Yeah. He is still a young guy, and he can still. But JD, I think if they had made it work, that would have been a lasting relationship.
But I also think that a Loco will be taken care of beautifully by the rancher. She will be okay, even though he literally had $14 to rub together.
Yeah, but there will never be really nice dresses anymore.
But she has connections. She has now these, because that is actually the Marchioness thing is applicable still, because Loco put herself into. She knew Paula. And there, Paula says, "This is a girl with brains and guts, and we need her." Well, I don't know if she need her, but she belongs to our group. And so now that they're all together and they have various stages of the guys are in various stages of capital ownership, that Rancher and Loco will have what they need. The other guys can give Rancher also more opportunities. If he wants to stay on a mountain, okay, but stay on a mountain. Can we maybe organize that you start owning pieces of a mountain? Can we get
He's
you?
not going to be that interested, and I don't. As for a plot written. I think some of these guys are very caricatures more than a person.
I had one problem with Ranch Guy, because he did take her around and say, all of this is mine.
Yeah,
and that I don't see how that was
metaphorical.
Ambiguous.
Yeah,
no, her conclusion of that was absolutely properly correct.
You own this,
and she was duped already by the other guy, forget his name, but the business guy who was married. She was already
all of the entire Loco storyline is from that other play. So,
and you can tell that play is more about misunderstanding. She thinks this is happening and it's not, and then again she thinks this is happening and it's not. So she, and I think that's quite realistic. Because if you try to step out and try to do something new, people will push you back into where they think you're supposed to be, and that's the classes. We don't know where she come from. That's not clear. I think for Schatze it's clear. She knows enough. She has enough education. She has enough knowledge of the world to know this is all out there. We can partake. And she was very, very clever. She could pull off a heist. She's that clever. Nowadays, she would be like an Ocean's 11 female version, which I believe is out.
Yeah, there is
going to be made one, and I want to see it.
I think it's already made.
Oh, it's already made. I have to see that then. I love that. Yeah. So these are kick-ass
I'd love to have
women.
seen Lauren Bacall in a heist movie. I'm going to see if there is one. But
isn't there one with Audrey Hepburn? Where there's
yes.
So they were trying to start doing that in the late 60s. This is a little on the early side.
It is a little on the early side.
But I think there's a lot of feminism in it.
I think that is the biggest problem with this film, is that it's so early that the feminism is still... It's before the second wave of feminism. Yeah. And so it's very much geared towards must find men, must get married.
Yeah. But that was the 1950s, and it's 53. So it's already 8 years after the end of World War II, and they've been spending 8 years trying to get the women, please get behind, get back in the kitchen, because there were economic reasons to do that as well.
I understand.
And we don't agree with them, but that is what was going on at the time. And there was a booming economy coming up. They may not have known that. It was starting already.
In 53, they were already booming.
Yeah, yes. The US was already booming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why you get the Cinemascope, full color, the big band.
Thank you for the
and
full
everything.
color. Because that was what was missing from the women.
Yeah, but the only thing that, because it's the second movie they do in this wide format, is that they don't do enough close-ups. They already have a couple of close-ups.
It's better than the robe.
It is better than the robe, and they have a couple of semi-close-ups of Marilyn, because Marilyn.
Because Marilyn. But also Lauren Bacall. Yeah.
But afterwards, they need to come even closer.
But they did do this, which is basically two people sitting, maybe this, on the screen, like especially Loco and Ranch Guy in the car. That screen fills the screen. It's only this and this. And I'm like, okay, all right. And then sometimes when the woman snuggles, I mean, it happens only like 3 times. The woman snuggles up to the guy. Those are like, you can see them do that, and it's really, really lovely. Yeah. To get back to the clothing, it wasn't just our 3 women, but did you see at the wedding where every single female outfit was?
Did you notice that when the wedding happens, Schatze is having the wedding, and then the other 2 girls, they come in. I think one of them actually knows, but the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
And basically, even though they come off the street, they can just slot in as matrons of honor and look the part.
That is what they wear.
And that is because that is what people wore in those. Well,
you had outfits in your outfit, and today it's still true, but
only
it was much more true then.
Fewer. You had a couple of really good outfits, but you had fewer of them.
And they would have put it on going back to see Schatze, because they were there to show off their guy. But they had both already gotten married.
And then just for visiting Schatze, they have enough to go straight into a
you
ceremony.
Put on your good stuff. Yeah. And it's all the way down to the shoes. It's color coordinated.
Yep, and everybody there looked the part. And then I also want to say that the cinematographer, I don't know if it's the same as the director. I'll have to look that up. Who the way they looked at this boxy frame and made a pretty picture. Pretty much always, and made sure that there was something in that corner, and something in that corner, and something in the middle, and then something in the corner again. And there was specifically on the wiki, it said that this was one of the first movies that actually was transposed to television a couple of years later. Oh. But then you have to do something with where am I going to put it, and there is a particular version that television version that has this 3x4 cutting, which was apparently done, I think, either pretty well or pretty horribly. I'll have to look that up. I'll let you know. But yeah, the way this guy populated the screen, nicely done. So get the full version if you can, because there's quite a lot to see. On my TV, it's pretty. I don't have a very big TV. You have a bigger one, but. So bigger is better.
My computer.
Well, then it's not big.
I do want to say, with watching on the computer, I had my headphones on. The stereo is amazing. It's like when the train comes in, and then you have a different view, and then the train sound is over there, and things go by like that, and it's like,
nice.
Yeah, they had that down. They got that sorted.
I think that in '53, because when they did the Cinemascope, they wanted to make the experience of going to the cinema as a experience. So maybe that's why they did sound design. Yeah. Some real good sound. And after this, you get you had the stereo, but after this you get like 4-point or 5-point sound systems.
Yeah. That's a good deal later, though.
Yeah, that is a good deal later.
I was surprised because I don't often watch these kinds of films with like headphones on, and I was like, whoa. Very nice. It's certainly in competition with what they do now in cinemas, where you really feel like it's moving around you. But watch it for the women. I think that there is a feminist story in there. I would not downplay it. I would be open to it. That's how it landed on me. It's about the women,
but that's because Laura Bacall plays it that way, and Marilyn Monroe plays it that way. Yeah. They take what is there and make it into a feminist thing.
And Betty Grable less so. I think that may also be why she's falling off our radar a little bit, because she's just not that much in control of her storyline. And the other two are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Good movie.
Good movie. And I suppose the representation of nearsighted people, like people with actual vision problems. So, like, it's not that there wasn't a tool for it. It's just that she was told not to use it. And that happens to people with disabilities. So that is actually a point that it's well made, and I don't think that they knew that they were making it, although they might have, because it's such a point in the movie.
I think it's more of Marilyn knew it, and probably Lauren did because she's smart.
Laughs, but it's not funny, you know. Of course, but
Marilyn
Monroe is amazing doing it.
It's one of those things
but
where
they ended it properly.
Yeah, one of those things where they go, you know, it is, yes, they're making fun of a girl with glasses, but at least they're showing a girl having glasses and not just having it behind her back all the time.
And it's tied up in a bow with the scene in the airplane.
Yeah, but the important thing is that these things are seen. Any disability that is not seen cannot be addressed, cannot be talked about. And now it is seen, and by Marilyn Monroe it is showed, and that is very important.
And she played it straight. She played the whole thing straight, and that's what makes it. That's why some of it can be funny when she walks into a wall, and you're going, I get it, but you know why she's doing it. It's always clear why she's doing it,
and she does it so very literally straight. She goes bang into that wall. She doesn't. Yeah. She doesn't make the her doing it a gag. She makes the situation a gag.
Yeah, it's like because this is forced upon her. This is now happening. Yeah. And then to get a guy who says, I like you with your glasses on, and you don't have to do that. That is
the right guy.
Liberating. That is also feminism. Because you could have said, you know, that's great that your glasses look, that you need your glasses and you can do that in private, but don't be on my arm. No, he wasn't like, no, you look good. I like you looking better in the glasses. And whether it's good or better, that's good enough. It's like, as long as your husband isn't against your being able to function in reality. That is like literally why this is important.
Yeah, your
husband should be in your corner.
Yeah. And if he likes it, then it's
helps
good.
You. Yeah. He is proud of you that you can partake in your life fully. So, yes, there's a little bit of that. Good movie.
And
certainly holds up.
Yeah. And that's my opinion.
And my opinion.
And we're sticking to it.